Welcome to another episode. Today I'm with Dr. Dexter Maddox. He is an oral and maxillofacial surgeon practicing in Georgia near the Savannah area. Dexter, thank you so much for joining us on the episode.
Yeah, thanks for letting me be here, Grant. Big fan of the podcast. Love what you do here. I think it's such an awesome thing you're doing for honestly oral surgery as a whole. So I'm just glad to be here.
Yes, I'm super excited to have you. You're one of our super fans who takes time each week or every couple of weeks to give me some feedback and text me your thoughts on the episodes and what you'd like to hear and what went wrong or went good. So listeners, follow Dexter's lead. I need some good feedback, and it really helps me to refine the episodes over time. So appreciate that.
Absolutely
Well,
glad to do it.
yeah, my first question for you is if you can just give us kind of a brief history of your background and your current practice setup.
Yeah, so I'm an oral and maxillofacial surgeon. I'm practicing out of Savannah, two partners, Justin Dameron, Al Pesto, outstanding individuals there. I graduated from Case Western Reserve University after doing University of Georgia and Dental College of Georgia in Augusta. Also go Dogs for the recent
Yes.
national championships.
Hmm.
And then at Case Western, I was lucky enough to have Grant's younger brother Jake as my intern, as through my awesome class of interns. So that's kind of how we made the connection there. So huge fan of the Stuckey family as a whole.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So kind of doing private practice in a group setting. And then I know you've got some other type things going on. Can you explain some of your things you're doing outside of your daily oral surgery practice?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, ultimately, and I really share this with your brother Jake. I'm just a big nerd at heart, and I'm really a big believer that we can utilize technology that either is in other industries or novel technology overall, really to just make our lives easier, to make our practices more efficient, more productive, and just less stressful. So, really utilizing and engaging technology in kind of all of its exciting ways, and especially now in the day of artificial intelligence and kind of what that is blowing up to be. I think we're really on the cusp of a very special and very exciting time in technology. And really, ultimately, my goal is to have oral surgery be a part of that conversation. I see oral surgery as leaders in dentistry, and I think dentistry as a whole has brought a lot of very interesting concepts to healthcare in general. And I really want to have oral surgery to be a serious player in kind of everything that's happening, especially in the artificial intelligence space, and give us the opportunity to have a voice there and just be able to take advantage of that.
Sounds amazing. I know technology is progressing rapidly. I mean, in a lot of ways, it seems like oral surgery is not. I mean, we've used the same forceps and drills for years now. But I mean, what are some of the ways you feel like artificial intelligence or some of these new applications can potentially help us in our practices?
Yeah, I mean, I do think you make a good point. We can be a little bit archaic, and maybe not have embraced technology in ways that other industries have. And part of my goal is to hopefully be able to change that a little bit, whether it be kind of things that maybe are a little bit I think are exciting, but perhaps are a little bit more mundane, like stuff just like integrating Microsoft Teams in a practice, integrating simple communication tools. Microsoft Teams and Slack, I think, is probably the number one place to start. Communication tools like Loom, what organizational tools, whether it be within your Microsoft suite, or tools like Notion, and then starting even getting into like staffing tools and HR tools. Deputy is a cool example of that. Our marketing is a huge part of that. There's applications out there like Buffer or Hootsuite. I'm currently and my partner, we've been doing a lot with TextBlaze, for example, for doing notes, or getting into ChatGPT for writing notes. So there's a lot of things that we can be doing from the kind of productivity software standpoint, just to make things like, I mean, I'm talking about like immediate immediate implementations that are just going to buy you tons of time. And then from there, the kind of more advanced topics of artificial intelligence and how we can implement that in our practices, which are there's probably a lot more, it sounds like this really esoteric thing that, you've got to have a computer science degree to even log on to these things. And honestly, I talk with my partners a lot about that. Even Dr. Pesto, he's a little bit older and he's started to play with it. And it's just a fun, cool tool that you can kind of just see what's out there,
Yes. I love that. I love how you're trying to think outside the box in ways that can save us time. Geez, you hit on some that really makes sense to me. One is note writing. I think we've talked about this in some other episodes, but a lot of our guests bring up how painful note writing is, and just what a difficult. It's one of those things. It's like we didn't become oral surgeons to write things. It came into things to cut things, and so we just feel like it's an insult to our grandiosity to have to write down what we did after the fact. It just seems so ridiculous. But what is TextBlaze and how are you using some of these apps?
Yeah. So my two main note tools would be TextBlaze and then ChatGPT. So I've done notes in a lot of ways. And I tend to be I take my notes very seriously. I'm kind of a nerd about it. I'm always just, how it is with medical legally, but I've really been leaning into TextBlaze though lately. It's a really neat application that on a fundamental level, it is just a phrase expander. So just like you might have used in an application, did you use Epic when you were coming through?
Yep.
So you had dot phrases. And or maybe for WinOMS, the snippet system. So on a core level, it's like that, where it's just snippets of information, but you can get into tools that are closer. Think of it like dot phrases and how you can kind of work through a note, like F2 through a note in Epic really efficiently. But you can build your own notes and it's more customizable. You can do a lot more with it. I've got a video coming out that'll kind of go through what my whole process is. And if you share my information, I'd love to have conversations with people. I can share all of my templates because it's something that I've sort of spent a bunch of time, and it's actually relatively easy to set up, but there are a few tricks in terms of building those templates to make it efficient. So the two primary ways that I use them in the practice of TextBlaze in particular, one is actually for treatment planning. So to communicate treatment plans, I've done everything like from entering in treatment plans in WinOMS, and it's so inefficient. Like it's so frustrating. It's so click heavy. It's just really bad application. We've moved to Sensei now. It's a little bit better, but it's just such a time sink. But on the flip side is you've got to have accurate treatment plans, right? So we will actually use TextBlaze. It's available on all of the computers in our practice. We use Microsoft Teams to be able to communicate within our billing department. And then we build what we call optical tickets. You can call it whatever you want, but you'll just press, you kind of have a hotkey on your computer, just like you might for a dot phrase, but ours is / like for thirds, it's 3OP, the number 3OP. And then what pops up is going to be is the billing, is basically the whole billing. So it's going to say what surgeon, which of the three of us it is. It's going to say which patient, which room, what imaging we did, pan, CBCT, or if they already came in with something, how many units of sedation or nitrous, whether two drugs, and then based off of it, for third molar treatment plans, you can put in partial bony for each one. And this is something that I can do in like my sleep, takes like 2 seconds, because you're just tabbing through using arrow keys a couple of times. And I have it even defaulted to like kind of those most common scenarios. So it's not uncommon where you can just like tab through it and you're just like ready to go. And so I can communicate treatment plans super, super fast. And from there, it's just data entry, right? You're not getting like that miscommunication. We used to write it down on a piece of paper, and I thought that was just a joke. So they're getting immediate data entry. This is also something we're outsourcing. This is kind of the whole theme of this, is automation and outsourcing to make your practice more efficient. So we've outsourced that part of it. and made our billing processes really streamlined, really efficient, and just fast for us. And then the other part that I use TextBlaze for is just doing my consult notes and my procedure notes. And so what I can do is kind of take, I mean, we know what those core procedures are. It's, extractions, breaking down into nitrous, locals, and sedations. And then you have, an simple extraction procedure, thirds procedure, immediate implant, expose and bond, whatever it is, you can build a SOAP note or just a generic note where you can get, most of the time everything with a note, but still at the end of the day, it's just free text. You can go in there and edit it however you please. And then I've started timing myself. I know it's crazy, but just with this whole thing, I will start to time myself. Cause and I'll my partner's in the next door and I'll be like starting a note and then start the timer and I'll try to do it as fast as I can. I mean, I'll do a long note will take me 90 seconds. Notes routinely take me 30 seconds or something like that.
Yes.
And the procedure notes are even faster than that. So TextBlaze was really, really fast, especially for the stuff that's it's really just templated. You need variation and you need to make it a unique note. While on the flip side, ChatGPT is a cool tool for writing notes. And it's really malleable because it gets into the level of intuition that ChatGPT, especially with the newest version GPT-4, is able to bring to the table. And so it's say if the upper thirds are missing, I just have to go in there and delete it, for example. ChatGPT, on the other hand, can infer from your input, which you can train it to take relatively simple inputs to pump out a note, and it's much more flexible. The problem with GPT-4 is a little bit slower, and part of it's its creativity comes in, and you don't necessarily want creativity from in your notes all the time, especially from the computer. So
Yes.
yeah, that's kind of TextBlaze in a nutshell.
Wow. And you have recorded some videos or do something online for people to kind of understand this?
Yeah. So it kind of came from I do it with my partners just because one of them, bless his heart, he's so behind on notes. Those people that
Yep.
have a mountain of notes to get through. And I absolutely love him. And I'm just basically just trying to help him. And so it started from doing Loom videos. We, not to jump into another thing entirely, but started doing Loom videos. But I was like, you know what? More people should know about this. More of and really all of the things I'm doing, whether it's the software that I'm developing or the notes through TextBlaze or AI, is just from just having conversations with colleagues and hey, will you show me how to do this? So just with those videos that I'm producing, and we can give my link to my channel. It's called IMvision Dental, IMvision, M, not N. So through IMvision, I will be releasing. This is kind of the start of it. So I'm going to start releasing the videos through this. So we'll be able to share links. So this is a little bit of the debut of it, I suppose.
Nice.
And then we're going to be rolling out videos with this. I had to go with the big guns, the everyday oral surgery. You know what I mean?
Let's go.
So straight to the top. So it's just general videos. It's kind of just this is cool stuff that's going on. This is stuff that might save you some time. This is stuff that you might find interesting, that I've kind of had conversations with. So it's everything from, like I said, Teams, Loom, TextBlaze, ChatGPT, kind of just where I'm at, and tools that I've been kind of trialing. And a lot of them are just absolute slam dunks, especially, stuff like TextBlaze. It's just a slam dunk in your practice.
That is so cool. Love it. Yeah. We currently use Epic in our practice when we have the dental version of Epic.
Okay.
And so we do the dot phrase, but someone recently showed me that I'm not doing it very effectively, but I've typed up a whole note, let's say for extraction of all 4 full bony thirds. Right. And I have a whole procedure note that I created in Google, and I copy that and paste it into Epic. And so you can do dot, FBE, full bone extraction, whatever, 16732. and then that note just populates in. And I created all these templates, like hundreds of them, one for like 1 in 16 part bony and 1732 full bony, right? And
Yeah.
it took me like hours to put
Yeah.
all these things in. It was like ridiculously long.
Uh,
Are you able to do it quicker than that?
yeah. So the way I do it specifically is I'll have notes, whether it be procedure notes or consult notes, and I don't have a ton of those. I mean, I certainly don't have hundreds of those. I'll have just categories. So honestly, there's kind of two variables. One is whether it's sedation, a local, or a nitrous. So actually, it always starts with a dot. I used Epic some in residency, so that's kind of like reflexive to use the dot. So I
Yeah.
do dot. It's going to be sedation S, L, or N, SL or N, and then it'll be like EXT for extraction code. And then from there, I basically can reference snippets. So the other classes I have are snippets. And then so I can put in the number, it'll be like put in the number, it'll populate the number in like all the sites. You just have to press the number one, like what tooth number, say if you're taking out 18, you'll put the number in one time. So it'll be at the top in your procedure. It'll put it in the diagnosis. It'll put it in the procedure, like it'll put it everywhere that you need it in the note. And then instead of having like, oh, I did a surgical extraction or a simpler extraction, I sectioned it and having separate notes for that, I basically just have a drop down window where I'll just select what sort of treatment I did for that specific tooth. So and that's then referencing the snippets. I can use those same snippets across multiple notes. So if I need to then make edits to any of those snippets, it's going to make changes in all of the notes. Because the problem you can lead to with your sort of structure, and this really is kind of like a coding principle. If you hear people say like clean code, you wanted to be able to kind of edit it in one place so you have that single source of truth. And then that edit can then be references by other points in the application. And I say this like I'm a coder. I know code on the level of my 2-year-old knows English. I really do not. But it's a way where you can, and this is a no code. This is not a coder's tool. This is an end user's tool. I consider myself like a power end user, and you can reference that information later so that it's kind of in one editable source, as opposed to having hundreds of variations of the kind of the same node.
Got it. Okay. That is pretty amazing. Pretty cool. Yeah. Because if I want to edit my note or change a tooth number or something, I have to kind of go and find it. Okay, where did I say that? I got to change it. This spot, that spot, this spot, and it's tedious to alter.
And then you get frustrated and you don't want to use it. So
Yeah.
so that's a good little trick. So again, I'll share all of these with you. I'm an open book, or anybody who wants them. And then use those and play with them and build your own. And honestly, tell me what you do. I'd love to know. I'd like share your secrets as well.
Yeah, that's so cool. Things like that can save us time, especially on the parts that are, I mean, really saving us any time is amazing, but certainly on the more painful type activities we do, like note writing. I mean, I'm not too familiar with AI yet. I only hear about it in the news, but I'm sure there's got to be some applications. Do you use AI at all in your practice, or what do you see for that?
Yeah. So I use ChatGPT all the time. I mean, ChatGPT is a standard window. When I open up Chrome, it's like my homepage, basically. Like I have 4 tabs. It's my calendar, it's my email, it's ChatGPT and Notion. So man, I mean, I'm on it all the time. I got hundreds of threads. I have some cool videos coming out just to show ways that I'm using it just within a practice. So one of them is doing like there's so many. It's just like it's literally hard to list because I use it for just like everything. But so for doing notes, it's a really cool way of doing notes. I'll share kind of the training process that it sounds weird, but you have to do like a little bit of a training process and kind of like teach it how you want it to write notes, like how you like your notes. So I have a video kind of explaining that whole process. So notes for one of them, again, you run in a little bit of that sort of creativity aspect that it isn't necessarily helpful, but it's a very cool tool. Consult notes. Consult letters. Love it for consult letters. because you can just pump in like stream of consciousness. So just your prompt would be, I have a 74-year-old male. He's had, a cabbage. He's had X, Y, and Z. What sort of questions should I ask for a cardiologist? Or maybe you're going to go a step further, like, what's his ejection fraction? What's his last EKG says? Like, you can do any level, and it's just, like, you pump in just stream of consciousness, just no thought into that. And then it will bring you out a note that looks like it was just like from the smartest doctor that's ever come in the room.
Incredible.
So yeah, so you get this like letter, and I'm talking about it's formatted beautifully. Like everything is spot on with it. And you could even say, hey, make it a little shorter, or maybe the cardiologist, like make it a little less formal. And they've still like don't really engage with the process, as with doing consult notes. But I feel like at least from a medical legal standpoint, you're just showing like, hey, like I'm trying. So consult notes is a super convenient way to use it. I use it for just like answering emails, copy and paste a whole email thread in there and say, hey, like just say like, I don't like that idea, but do it in a nice and professional way. Like, so you can, it can take your stream of consciousness, and you could even say, hey, summarize this whole email thread for me. It'll give you a summary, and just say like, hey, I agree with that. I disagree with that. Say it in a nice but firm way. And then it'll put out an email, and you'd be like, hey, make it a little shorter. I mean, you could be like, make it as a poem that a pirate wrote, and it'll be like, arg, matey. Like, so you can do like, it's just like a tremendous time saver. I've done our whole marketing strategy off of ChatGPT. I do the marketing strategy for my software startup through ChatGPT. There's just like, it's so much stuff. I do literature review through ChatGPT, especially with the plugins that it has. Specific scholarly AI is one of the plugins that you can have with ChatGPT 4. And it's just like, for example, how you'll get back this path report sometimes, and like all you do is get flashbacks to path class and not actually, nothing intelligent is coming to your mind. It's just flashbacks to path class. You know what I'm talking about? And so like, you can just be like, hey, what's the difference between that one again? Like, and it tells you like, it's pretty wild what it's able to do.
Wow. That's just phenomenal. Pretty cool that it can help you with writing. Sounds like it helps you a lot with writing, like making things sound more professional. I mean, I was an English major, and still it pains me to this day to write a letter, but that's pretty cool just to type in like basic concepts, and it can put the whole framework for you.
So for you as like an English major, I think you might, and so people like hardcore writers obviously are not going to maybe love it as much. But what's cool is not only can you teach it like kind of the style of notes that you like, you could go in and say, here are my last 10 consult notes. This is kind of the framework I like. Or maybe as you could pump in your English papers, your essays and your short stories and everything like that. It can learn your tone, your cadence, your syntax. It can learn the minutia of the way that you write. And not only is it going to produce documents that are, coherent, it'll do them in your tone and your cadence and how you write. It's pretty wild.
That's insane. Oh my gosh. I probably sound super old to my young listeners. They probably all pull up ChatGPT every morning when they pull in on their websites. They're like, come on, Stucki, get with the program. This is old school.
And that's just like the large language model, aspects like that. I mean, that's really what's getting the press right now is this, they'll call them LLMs or large language models, but of these different like use cases, like that's just one of many. Like that's like, and that's a huge one. I mean, like that's really certainly the workhorse, but there's, images, there's videos, there's text to speech. There's so much, like a really cool one, for example, for text to speech, go to 11 labs.io, and then just put in whatever you want it to say. And there's like 100 different voices. And it's crazy because you can have the same sentence with an exclamation point and it'll have a different inflection. If it's an exclamation point, it'll have a different inflection. if it's a question mark, you can get it to like whisper. There's like 100 different voices. I mean, it sounds totally natural. I mean, I know you're thinking of like the old in Microsoft Windows, you could like have it do text to speech stuff and it was super robotic,
Yeah.
This is like, I mean, I promise you, I had kind of a half idea to like start the episode with like something that would like sound like real, but it wasn't. But I don't know, I should have done it.
That's really cool. So 11 Labs has explored the most advanced text to speech. I do a lot of speech to text, but this is texting to speech.
So yeah,
Voice
it's the
cloning.
opposite. So do you do like Dragon? Is that what you're talking about there?
Yeah, that type of stuff.
So I was using Dragon fairly regularly, and with how I've started using text plays, I just don't use it as much. I use it some for like really long histories. Like if somebody just like, I really want to go into somebody's a long like HPI, but overall, I just haven't used it as much. Not that Dragon's not great.
Yeah, I do it more for writing down my personal notes for myself or, writing, like free time writing.
Yeah. Okay.
But just wanting too lazy to write, so speech. But
Oh, I
this
do that all the
is,
time too.
do you?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Have you found anything that helps you with while you're driving and you're trying to speech to text and then it comes out all total crap and the wrong messages and funky things are said and you send it and you're like, oh, son of a gun, I have to retext that whole thing.
I do have a very good solution there, and that is thank you, Papa Musk, for the Tesla. Because I have a keyboard in my car. Yeah. So I mean, I
Nice.
commute, I have a longer drive. The other parts of AI is that we can talk about is self-driving, and it's gotten pretty darn good. So yeah, it's the just having a good old keyboard, you can't beat it with the car. But if you're not doing that, I wouldn't recommend it.
The Tesla, I mean, are you able to say, here's my destination and it just goes there for you? Or, I mean, do you have to brake and stop yourself and turn?
So I routinely drive from St. Simons to Savannah with, minutes of intervention of an hour and a half drive.
Wow.
Like I mean, most of the time, and I'm kind of going in the mornings when it's trafficy. I'm like a little bit more, I'm still letting it do its thing, but I'm more alert and I'll do more of the turns and I'll do more of the trafficy parts. But like, think about how much of your driving is just straight line, brainless straight line driving. I mean, it's better. It's better than humans at doing that sort of stuff. I mean, some of the super complex situations where there's 12, but even then it's performing as good. In a lot of cases, it's better. I mean, the crash test data for it is really good, compared to miles driven to accidents that you've had compared to human drivers. It's a lot less.
That's really amazing. Yeah, anything that can improve safety on the road is huge for me too, because I commute sometimes up to an hour each way. But man, so great that technology can give us more free time, protect us.
That's what it's all about. Now, there's a whole other concept of the fears of AI. I'm bullish on AI. I'm bullish on technology, but that's also the optimist in me.
That's right.
And there's certainly some you'll hear all the fears in the news.
I would say I used to be fearless, and now since I went, I don't know if you listened to episode 41, but I had an extreme case of identity theft where someone stole $500,000 in my name and from me, and so I'm very leery now of my information, on the internet, and I have all these password protecting things
Oh
and
yeah.
programs. It can get pretty gnarly, man. People found very creative ways to steal information.
There's some bad actors. I mean, it's quite frankly a huge money industry. And certainly that comes with fears of AI. But I heard that story from Jake actually specifically. But it's wild. I mean, I'm off. I'll say it in like my first episode. I mean, like I use 1Password specifically. There's a bunch of good ones. I think 1Password is a good go-to, but security, like I see that all the time. I mean, even in my practice, I'm like, no, we're not keeping an Excel list of all of our passwords. Like, no, that's not how we're doing that. You've got to be very secure. It drives my wife crazy sometimes too, that all my passwords are 30 random numbers and characters and letters. And,
Yes.
but using a password manager, if you can just kind of get into the habit of doing that, I totally agree. I mean, I can't imagine I've certainly heard it from Jake, but I can't imagine what you actually had to go through with that whole scenario. What an absolute nightmare that was.
Yeah, it took months of dealing with credit bureaus and things to get things removed and get my credit score back up. And I mean, I was lucky that it was all uh, thievery done in person, because banks could look at cameras and say, "Oh yeah, that's not you. Here's your money back." I mean, and they said that to me. They're like, "Yeah, you're lucky they didn't, hack you online. If they pulled the money out of your account online somehow, it's like we have no way to verify it wasn't you." And people lose that money all the time. I don't know if you've bought in many houses, but now there's all this, stuff going on with people sending their deposit, on the day of buying the house. People hack into the account and then they'll have them send it to the wrong out, overseas or wherever they're at. And these people lose their houses they're about to buy, lose their money. I mean, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, it's crazy stuff.
Yeah. I've and unfortunately, the kind of the flip side of the optimism of AI is there's going to be, they're able, and they're already, done it. There's going to be, amazing tools for this sort of nefarious activity. It's going to get better. And the concept here is the concept of alignment and sort of the ethics of AI is how you want to look at it. But you might, if you heard the phrase like alignment, maybe on the news or stuff like that when it comes to artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so basically what that is aligning human goals for the good of humanity, not necessarily the goals of these bad actors, but the ethical and good goals with the sort of parameters and the ability of these artificial intelligence models. And so there's actually a tremendous amount of research that goes into this area of artificial intelligence. There's most recently, if people want to read more about it, there's an article out of the Atlantic by Ross Anderson, and it has a kind of a quote that give you chills a little bit. It says, "I don't think the general public has quite awakened to what's happening," and sort of the discussions, the big names you'll hear in the artificial AI space is Sam Altman. So there's a lot of really interesting players in there. But Sam Altman is the CEO of OpenAI. OpenAI is the team responsible for ChatGPT, which is really kind of what made this take off. Okay. And his sort of counterpart and the head scientist, because data science is really the backbone of what this is, and that's why like data is the currency of Google and Facebook. Like this is now why. So Ilya Sutskever is the chief scientist, and so if there's any sort of names to watch out for, it'd be sort of those two, and they have very interesting. And OpenAI as a whole, I think, has positioned itself along with a lot of other good folks as sort of the leaders in focusing on alignment within AI. In fact, just recently they released their super alignment project, which they're actually going to dedicate 20% of their compute power for 4 years, which maybe doesn't sound like a lot, but 20% of OpenAI's compute power is a tremendous investment, millions and millions and millions of dollar investment in both compute power and manpower. But their conversations and some of their quotes about alignment is pretty interesting. So Altman, the chance of existential calamity is 0.5 or 50%. I don't have an exact number, but I'm closer to 0.5 than 50. So I think he's pretty bullish in terms of their ability to achieve alignment. But he also says, I can go live in the woods for a long time, but the worst possible AI future comes to pass. No gas mask is helping anyone. And a lot of, interesting kind of scary, but for me, I think it's just absolutely wild. But there's a lot of things that it's going to be able to do, a lot of bad things, quite frankly.
Is OpenAI, sorry to diverge here, but is that on, I mean, can you invest in them and buy stocks in them? Are they on the open market?
The big one for that right now you'll hear about is NVIDIA in terms of being able to invest in that. I don't know if I'm not a big stock person. You could certainly see if I want to say they're not,
Okay.
but I could be wrong. Did you see if they are?
I tried looking them up under OpenAI and ChatGPT, and I'm not finding
I
them.
I don't think they're publicly traded. The ones that, so the big partnership is OpenAI and Microsoft. So if you wanted to go, if you wanted to be able to invest in one of them, so certainly Microsoft and OpenAI have a very strong relationship. Microsoft has been a massive investor in OpenAI, and in fact, Microsoft is leveraging ChatGPT and the power of ChatGPT for the first time in decades, been able to start to make a dent in Google search, because now, Bing, which kind of used to be a meme a little bit, is now becoming an increasingly important player within search on the web. And then the other one there is, and it's kind of it's the same part of the puzzle, and it's the one, if you're talking about stocks, is NVIDIA. NVIDIA's, I think apparently their stock is just absolutely blown up recently. Yeah. And so NVIDIA's role specifically is if there's any gamers out there, they know very well what NVIDIA does, which is create graphics cards. So your computer's gonna have a CPU, and then in a lot of cases it's gonna have virtual GPUs, but it needs something to be able to process graphics. And GPUs are very efficient in using what is this kind of, you'll hear the term neural net. So GPUs are much more efficient than a CPU like Intel produces at going through this neural net data. And NVIDIA is the number one when it comes to creating these graphics cards. Because remember, there was that big run with Bitcoin mining.
Yeah.
Where you couldn't get a graphics card. It was so expensive. Well, this is like that, but on an enterprise level. That's like, oh, they're getting all these consumer cards. We're talking about, major hardware and major compute power. And NVIDIA has positioned themselves to be a huge winner. I mean, they really already have within this space.
That's so cool.
Because something's got to run these programs.
That's right. Wow. Well, anything else you wanted to discuss on this topic of oral maxillofacial surgery and, some of the technology advances that we could be making?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to it. There's so many kind of exciting angles within this, and it's just I'm for one, I'm just excited to kind of see where this is all going to go, how this is going to affect us, and really, I want to work towards making us a part of this conversation, and allowing us to kind of be able to benefit from this as well.
I'm so glad you're doing that, and I look forward to looking up all of your resources and templates and the things you're doing, because it's super helpful for me as well.
For sure. Yeah. And I mean, anybody who wants to talk about it, I love talking about this stuff. So I'd love to, anybody wants to reach out, email me. We can put some of my I'm not really a social media person, but I'm trying to have a couple channels and stuff like that. So you can reach out to me on there.
Thanks for being willing to do that. Cool. Well, let's end with some rapid fire questions, if you don't mind.
Of course.
First
I've been looking forward to this the whole time. I mean, it's a dream come true, honestly.
Oh man. Well, what's the best book you read in the past year?
It would probably be, I mean, I audibled it. I'm not gonna lie. But Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I just had to listen to it again. It's so good. Okay. It's a classic. The only books I actually read, because they're not on Audible, is implant textbooks, because I'm just a through and through nerd. And that one would go to Zero Bone Loss Concepts, I think is a must read. must read, required reading.
Good, Rex. How about what's the most helpful non-oral surgery thing that you do in your daily or weekly life that helps you with your daily oral surgery skills?
It's got to be pickleball. It's got to be pickleball. Love the pickleball. Played this morning. I have full intentions on playing tomorrow. And play as much as I can. I mean, you gotta stay active, you gotta keep the blood pumping. It's like my physical activity and my social life, like all in one. So
what is the average age of the people you're playing pickleball with?
You know what? I play with young folks. I'm 33. I play with folks my age.
Okay.
But the cool thing is I play with my dad. And we have a lot of fun playing together. Well, we kind of have an anti-synergy, to be honest with you. I don't know if still a father-son dynamic. But no, we have a ton of fun playing with each other. And I'll play with my mom even and her friends. People hate on it. It's like this old person sport when like I play with all my friends that are the same age. I'm not getting any younger, by the way. It's a ton of fun. And there is some old person sport. I can't get a workout. I burnt 2,500 calories the other day. I track it on my Apple Watch. Like I get crazy heart rate stuff with this. It's such good workout.
Good for you, man. That is awesome. I'll get out there and start playing more pickleball.
You got
or
at
least eating pickles while I watch people play pickleball.
Either way, win-win.
Ease into it here. It sounds like a lot of work. What forceps do you use to remove tooth number 5?
I was thinking about this question the other day because I got the old the upper cow horns, they'll call them, and I used them for a second. I'm just like, no, it's just standard, just nothing. Oh, number 5. You used to go number 3. You're throwing me off.
Usually I say 3 or 14, but I was switching it up to see.
Okay. Oh, well then I'm definitely going standard. I'm definitely going just a universal upper.
Universal.
Yeah. Not throwing curveballs at me, Grant. I've memorized these questions. You can't do this, Jimmy.
You should be plugging all these into ChatGPT and let the.
Oh no, I haven't answered a single question. This hasn't even been me the whole time. This has been 11 labs, and you've got Grant.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. What's the best movie or TV series you watched in the past year?
I just finished The Bear most recently. I also like to cook a lot. I'm like a big foodie. That was a pretty cool show. Season 1 slapped pretty hard. I'd recommend that. That's a solid one.
What's The Bear about?
It's about a chef. It's the actor from Shameless, and kind of like he's almost like typecast into that kind of like down and out, like a little bit role. He's an excellent actor. I mean, on the last episode, he does this monologue that like I honestly don't watch a ton of series and stuff like that, but I'm like, now that is acting. Like that is really, really good acting. But yeah, cool. It was Netflix? A cool, like about a chef. It's on Hulu.
Oh, okay.
I know you got kids. You're on Disney Plus. You can just they're all in one with ESPN. So but yeah, good. That's a cool show.
How about what is your favorite quote?
Favorite quote. I've always liked the quote, "Mastery is an ever onward almost."
I like that.
I don't know why that quote's always resonated with me.
So it's more of a process than like a defined end point.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Excellent. I know you're just a couple of years out of residency, but what was your favorite part of residency?
Just every moment I spent with Jake Stucki.
Good. You passed the test.
No, your brother's the absolute man. I love him to death. I had great interns. Honestly, the answer is like I really enjoyed my time on service, and I did not really enjoy my med school time or my general surgery time. It was all right. I don't need to do OBGYN rotation again. I can tell you that for sure. But really and truly, being on oral surgery, my co-resident was awesome. Petra, I had the residents above me were super fun. Andre and Brady and Radu, and like Nitsa and Josh, like and Nima. We just had a really fun crew. Braden and Emeka, like we had an awesome crew. I love those guys and miss those guys. So it was the folks.
Cool. Yeah. Probably the same for me. Just the daily banter and joking around and having fun with a group of cool people who are kind of in the same boat. It's just not something you'll probably ever do again. Even if you
For
became an
sure.
attending, it's not the same.
Yeah,
Cool.
for sure.
Well, that's all I got for you today. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this, Dexter.
Yeah, no, I'm like I said, I'm excited to be here, excited to have the opportunity. I think what you're doing for the field for oral surgery, I think it's such a good thing. I've learned a ton from it, and so you know, if I could contribute any small way, I'm super happy to do that. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. Well, yeah, if you don't mind, we could put your email or some type of contact info in the show notes.
Absolutely.
And then, yeah, I really appreciate you helping myself and our listeners. And let's do another episode sometime.
Let's do it. All right. Thanks, Grant.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.